still talking about the past and moving on. So listen carefully. Were things unhappy at home that when you said you looked at food for comfort? I mean, personally, I looked at it truly as total entertainment. It might as well have had a little hat and tap dancing shoes on it, because food wasn't my entertainment. But what was it to you, or was it something in your past that was happening that made you turn to food because you didn't get comfort from food?
No, it wasn't anything like that specifically triggered food and said, oh, I need to have food so that if I'm thinking about food, I don't have to think, or I don't have to feel about, X, Y, Z that happened. But things were stressful. There was a real stressful period in my family's life. And my parents, God bless them, they did the best that they could. There are things looking back now that, we all look and say, gee, could have done different. So there were incidents that happened, which probably fed more of the being why I used food, is just that feeling of knowing that I was not like everyone else. I was very different, and that constant humiliation that I went through in school and being ostracized. There were times that my parents didn't handle the weight issue really well, and there were things that were said to me and things that were done, and being drugged certain places to have magical cures. And 8 and 9, I was on a 900 calorie diet, which I wound up stealing food out of other people's lunches, stealing things out of my own refrigerator. Went to Weight Watchers. It went to medical pills, which went to about 13 or 14 when we moved. I started taking my mother's diet pills and got on diet pills and speed for a while. Went to doing some really stupid things like sticking cotton balls in Jell-O and eating that, thinking that the cotton balls would fill me up and it was a natural substance so that I would feel full and it wouldn't hurt me. And that was my own stupidity on that, which went to some really serious bulimic binges where I would take, on a summer day when I was out from school, 3 Sara Lee cakes, eat those in about 2.5 hours. And to get to those Sara Lee cakes, the eating was so bad, my parents padlocked the spare refrigerator out in our garage. And I learned how to pick locks because my parents had padlocked the refrigerator, and taking out 3 frozen Sara Lee cakes, eating them frozen, and then going with my babysitting money to go back, replenish those, and then stick them back in the freezer so that my parents wouldn't think that there was anything there that was missing. And it just went on and on, on and on. I mean, driving through 4 drive-ins. And it was really to the point where I started doing that because I hated myself. I hated the way I looked. I felt like I was never going to fit in. I would look in the mirror and literally get physically sick and try to find, and the more I tried to make myself feel better, the worse I got, because it was constantly brought up into my face. You have no boyfriend, nobody want to go out with you, you're way too fat, you don't have a good social life. And it was just constantly brought up.
How did you even Jeanette, how long have I known you?
5 years.
I don't know. I've never heard any of this.
Well, you don't tell it.
How did you survive this? How are you standing here today looking beautiful? Do you think you look beautiful?
Now I do.
How did you make the transition from, I think a lot of us are going, we're very sad right now, to think that you went through all this stuff and that you're still alive.
Yeah, by God's grace, I'm alive. It really.
Well, what was it? How did you make that transition? Because there are people in this room that feel that way, and that way what you weigh, and how did you get through that?
I have some incredible friends that, when I thought I was the ugliest a few years ago, when it just got so bad, they basically turned around and kind of rescued me for a weekend. And I went home to visit. And they rescued me for a weekend and pulled me away. And there was some tough love involved. And the commitment that I had was that I would go back and see a therapist. And I did about 1.5 years of counseling. I reattached myself with some faith and some beliefs that I have. I found that I uncovered for myself that I was basing my esteem on what I thought everybody else thought about me. And everything, my whole self-esteem was based on the world around me and how I perceived the world perceiving me. And I had to realize that, start back at the beginning and find out what it is. And I think for myself, when push came to shove, it was getting back to that faith and getting back to the basics and knowing that, you know, I am a good person, that God loves me, that there is a God, and that I have friends, and finding out what was of value and what was important to me and letting people love me. I had built up so many walls.
So now, what is your plan now? You've kept off how much weight?
117 pounds.
And tell me about your plan now. Hearing your past, which is very difficult, and I really applaud you for even getting up here and telling, because some of us wouldn't even tell the things that we've done or haven't faced it yet. Mm-hmm. What is your plan now?
My plan is basically to continue what I'm doing, is learning to be honest. And it's not easy to get up there and say all the things that I did to myself. But in the process of learning to be honest, I had to learn to be honest with myself first and admit the things that I did, in learning to be honest with other people, in learning that the difference between a truth and a lie, because what I found out, and we've talked about this before, is I turned into the most incredible liar. I could lie at anything in a drop of a hat in the past. And I have had to learn that I don't need to lie. I don't need to make things up. I don't need to cover. And, you know, if I eat 3 cheeseburgers, I eat 3 cheeseburgers. You know, I don't have to lie and say I had a salad and broiled fish and, you know, steamed vegetables. It's not going to change the fact that I had 3 cheeseburgers. You know, not that I have, but I work on it. I spend every day, I do an inventory. Every day I have friends that keep me accountable. I have found things back in life that give me joy and excitement that I never thought I would be doing. And I have some pretty strong goals that I want to do. There's certain things that I'm setting my goals on that I'm working every single day on, several hours a day. You know, I'm finding things that I haven't done in years that I've always wanted to, and it's like, I'm not going to stop.
I'm very happy for your joyness now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Are you one that detours from the past, faces the past, ignores the past, or like me, makes up the past? Which one? One way I didn't get beat up in school was I told everyone my grandfather was Simmons mattress, and they showed me all new respect. We have a Simmons. We have a beauty rest. We can't beat him up. There'll be no more mattresses. Hello, Richard, my buddy. Tell me about those coils, would you? How they get back up? So tell me about past.
In a nutshell, I've always had to face my past as a caretaker for handicapped parents, not to get too deep or dark or anything.
I want you to tell us. You took care of 2 parents as a child.
Yes.
Your mother and your father.
Uh-huh.
What was your mother's physical challenge?
Both my parents were hearing impaired. And
Hearing
my mother,
impaired.
And overweight, with complications such as diabetes and heart problems through my whole childhood.
From the very first time you were born?
Yes.
You were born with 2 parents that were hearing impaired.
And my mother had degenerative eyesight as well. So by the time she passed away 2 years ago, she was pretty much completely blind.
So as a child, how did you deal with this?
That's my favorite question, because I don't know, I just did it. Where I've come from in my past and where I am today, and it's exactly where I'm at right now, is learning to respect my past and the benefits that I got from it instead of being lost in how it messed me up.
Did it mess you up?
It detoured me, and I have to admit that I'm living things now that I didn't then. I'm a big kid. I just get things and am impulsive, and just go goofy like a child.
So what's wrong with that?
Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. I just wish that I could have, not as a wish. I try not to say, I wish I could have
Oh,
this.
wait a minute.
I would have loved to have had a childhood as a child.
Did you have other siblings?
I had 2 brothers that took their lives in 1984, a couple weeks apart.
You have 2 brothers that killed themselves.
Yes.
And why?
Different reasons.
Did they leave notes?
One did addressed to me because he knew that I'd be the one to find him being the responsible one out of the 3 and the youngest.
How are you sitting here and just being so brutally honest, but yet so collective?
I've had to be in order to survive, because I want to live, because I've always wanted to live, because I want to spite the naysayers that said, oh, poor Joyce, you know, look at this, look at her parents, look at her brothers, oh, she's going to kill herself, or she's going to be just like her parents with health problems and this and that. And I found that in the last few years, and this topic tonight is perfect for where I'm at, is the way that I look at the past today is respectfully, because regardless of the unnormal things or the heavy stuff, I just kept going, and I have to respect it because it's made me what I am today. Finally coming to myself, finally taking care of myself. I did what everyone said I couldn't do. I went to school, I became an engineer, and I graduated a year ago. And
that was a year ago
I did
at the
something
time
for
of
me
this
for once,
recording.
instead of for everybody else.
But you don't regret for 1 second the help that you gave the people around you?
Not at all.
Not 1 second?
Not at all.
I can see it in your eyes.
Thank you.
I am sorry you've been through so much grief. And people in this room are just like, oh my God, because you've been through a lot of grief. And you are a survivor. And boy, am I glad I know you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We all have a past. All of us. We all have a past. Ugh, just think of The Fugitive, you feel better. But we all came from a family, and we all came from things. Things happen. It just happened. I mean, we didn't plan it that way. We were just brought into an environment that we had to learn from. And in our past, sometimes we learn things that we shouldn't have learned. Sometimes we saw things that we shouldn't have saw. Sometimes we did things that was a lot of fun, but we shouldn't have done them. So the past is always sort of going to be hovering over you, but don't let it follow you. You can look at the great cloud and go, there's the past, a little rainy, storm. Back in the Central Florida area, we're going to have more. But if you let it follow you, it will then start dictating your future. If you keep on thinking about all the stuff that happened and you let it go right and it follows you, then you're in for a terribly stormy future. But if you can look at the past and try to forgive, try to settle, try to find some balance and compromise, then it won't haunt you and destroy you. And there are many people that have been totally destroyed by their past, and they just can't get anywhere past it. And that's all they think about. And I'll tell you something, it's deadly. It's more deadlier than a black widow spider. So look at your past, try to understand it, try to be forgiving, and go forward. Because you can't erase it. You just can't. But what you can do is you can plan the future without the past dictating what it should be. That's the most important thing. Do you understand now?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy, isn't it? Looking at our past every part of it, the happy and sometimes the sad. There's no hiding here. There isn't any blame or shame either. Just take a good look. And if you were hurt in the past, forgive and go forward, because there's a rainbow in your future. I can see it. It's on tape 3.
That will be the next 2 parts of Richard Simmons' Colors of Your Life. Stay tuned.